again for joining me for TISH Talks. And it's really cool to bring this to you live. Again, I am excited that you're here. And I want you, as you're here, to have an open mind. Again, we are a little bit short on time, so I'm going to try and jam pack what we did last time, plus move for the future. Okay? Before we get started, though, as always, I'd like to bring up Catrina so that she can help us relax our minds.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, my name is Catrina Tyler. I am the owner and head massage therapist at House of Willie Massage and Day Spa. Tish asked me last week to give a breathing technique just for relaxation. When we get into finances and we start tackling things like the budget and so forth, if we're not where we want to be, it can sometimes cause like an uncertainty or a form of anxiety. Just the realization of facing it all. And what I would like to add is to not get stressed out about it. Let's not forget that stress is the number one killer, and it's just unhealthy on the heart. So, in order to just stay level in energy when you're dealing with stress, I want you to practice just deep breathing. And it might sound simple, but if you even approach breathing wrong at times during different forms of anxiety, you can really offset and go in the wrong direction. Your fight or flight will kick in, and your body will start to just respond into what you're experiencing versus what you can cause to happen. So if you're ever in that situation, like now, we're getting ready to tackle budget or tackle something about finances, just stop for a minute and breathe deep. Breathe in. We could try it here once or twice. Just let's get the count of money. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Open your eyes. Don't that feel good? Thanks, Tish.
Thanks, Katrina. I appreciate that. Last week we went through just breathing through it. So this time we're going to start. We talked a lot about why we're here and focusing on your goals. In your bag, I'm sorry, it's a feminine bag, so you don't get one just yet.
Oh, it's a bag. Oh, it's I'm good. It's all right.
So
I'm good. That's right.
Right. So one of the reasons why we're here is because of the way that the market is going, everything that we're facing. And a lot of people are not aware and aren't paying attention to what's going on in the world. Like right now, we know that everything, prices have risen a lot. And it's because of inflation, but we don't understand how inflation relates to us. Again, inflation is when prices go up, right? So in order for us to understand how this affects us, when you're talking about inflation, a lot of people automatically assume, oh, we're in a recession. But no, a recession is just 2 negative consecutive periods, not just one. So why haven't we been in a recession, even though we see prices going up? The number one reason is that because we continue to spend. And what happens when you spend your money? You don't have it anymore. It's gone. It's not anything that you're saving. And this is where we get into trouble. Also, we touched on how we should actually be saving, so we'll go into that as well. But when you're spending all of your money each and every single day, what we notice now in the world is that we're not just spending on luxury items, which that fancy car, people used to buy boats, that was crazy things. But what we're spending on is actually necessities. So we're seeing that everything we're using, the cost is going up, and we think it's going down, and then what happens the next week? Right back up. So how do we prepare for that? How do we keep ourselves in line with that? We have to realize what it is we actually have and how we can keep it and make it work for us. It's not about us trying to go out and have the biggest and the baddest and be seen in our lifestyle. It's not about that right now. Totally. It's about survival. Especially for the next 2 years, because this year will end not as positive as everyone thinks. But 2024, we can make it through it. 2025, what we have ahead is opportunities. And there's opportunities for us to do better, for us to acquire wealth the right way and not have to worry about those things that will be drained and that everybody else will be losing because they focused on spending at a time when we should be focusing on saving and saving for our assets. One of the things that we see in the news right now going on is that we know that there's an unbanked population, and we'll talk about this in a few weeks as well when we go over the different types of accounts that there are, such as not just checking and savings. That's all we know. But there's money market accounts, index funds, those things that we are not even aware of, where other people are making money. And what did we talk about last week that was the most important asset that people need to be concentrating on? Gold, so those commodities, silver, and other commodities. And why we say that is because right now you can see that the banks are shutting down. Wells Fargo came out this week and said, even if you walk into the bank, do not withdraw more than $1,000 per day. Why? Because they need to hold on to that money inside as well. Now, people that don't know, they'll get mad. Wells Fargo's trying to keep all my money. I can't get money out of my account. What's going on with my PNC account? These are things that are happening, and we're not even aware of why, because we're focused on the wrong things instead of trying to make this an opportunity for us. So again, with our sessions, the number one thing that we want to do is have a goal, work that goal so that we can afford our lifestyle expenses bare minimum, get out of debt by any means necessary, then make it so that when these opportunities present themselves, we have the right assets in order to capture those opportunities. That's the goal of being here, and that's what we are looking to do, okay? All right, so in your folders, you have the My Spending Plan. Trish, you want to grab this one? You're welcome. And we focused a lot last week on what your actual goals are. Remember, your goals change, and they are important to you because your goals not going to look like mine. Mine doesn't look like yours. But our goals are the foundation for any budget, anything that we want to do in life. You have to have goals. And again, not our goals, not all goals have a monetary value. But what were some of the things we talked about? We want those goals to be SMART goals, or what's known as SMART goals. They need to be specific. They need to be measurable. They need to be attainable. They need to be relatable only to you. And they need to be time measured. Because time means everything. Years ago, when I sat down to do my budget, I said, I just want to be able to pay my bills. Seems simple enough, seems like a good goal, right? But in no kind of way am I holding myself accountable for any of my actions by just stating that. So first, I need my goal to be specific. How much debt do I have? How do I want to get out of it? How am I supposed to pay this off? These are things that we need to think through. And again, having that right mindset really does help when you sit down and do all of this. Before you do this, the goals are specific to budgeting, but you gotta be in the right mindset. So when you start to outline that, you wanna make sure that you're calm. Like I said, I hope you guys went home and you got a glass of wine, drank some tea, sat down and started to go through this. And it's not a one-time sit down thing and you're done. It may take you a few weeks because you didn't realize what you were doing before. Now you've got a different mindset for success to reach your goals. Again, specific, measurable. You want to know, it's going to take me 6 months to do this. It's going to take me how many months to do this? You need to be able to measure your success. And how will you know you got there? You can't just say a zero balance because it's not going to go down to zero right away. But in 3 months, if my balance is smaller than what it was, if I've actually looked at how much is going towards principal on my credit cards and how much is going towards interest, even knowing that on my mortgage payment, how much actually does go towards the interest? Because guess what? Interest is always paid first here. Is that what we want to continually do? No, we want to pay down that principal. That's the important thing. Then having it attainable and holding yourself accountable with that. You don't want to say, again, my goal is to jump out of an airplane and you don't even know how you're going to get there. You want to make sure that it's relatable to you and only you, because your goal's not going to look like your mom's. My goal's not going to look like yours. We have different careers, different life paths as well. And then we want to give ourselves time to reach it. We also talked about having accountability partners last week as well. So think about that, somebody that you trust, somebody that can say, get out of that store, don't do it, don't do it. Sometimes they might be in the store with you. But you have to put that in your mind and keep it there, which is why inside the bag, if you haven't done it already, there should be a purple card and a picture frame for you to write down what your goal is. And make sure that you see that as you go through everything, okay? So did you guys start going through your budget last week?
Yes.
You look so sad. It's not a sad thing. We want to focus on income this week. And I know, again, when you start going through your budget, you're going to say, okay, I need to focus on income. But then you look at your bank account, you're like, but there's nothing coming in. So how do I make this work? But it's to open your eyes looking at income, because you don't want to bank on money that you do not have. You can only count on the money that you know is coming in. And as young entrepreneurs, a lot of times that stops us and it limits us because we don't know where that next check is coming from. So if we get in that mindset of knowing that our income actually does matter, we know what our budget is, we know what our bills are, we're going to go over those next, guess what we can start doing? We can start planning ahead. Also, when we're going through our expenses, we're going to be looking for spending leaks, but also I want you to think it. While you're looking at your income, look for spending leeches as well. because those exist. And you probably don't even realize it or know it. And this is not to be a negative term. It's meant to open your eyes and make you think about it. What are some of those leeches that you think about when you're thinking about, am I going to have some money coming in? Okay, I'll go ahead and say it. Kids. You may have other relatives, friends. And these are the ones that, because we have such giving hearts, we want to help everybody. These are things that we think about and be like, okay, I don't mind giving to them. But also, we have to be able to put limits on what we give. Because if we don't, we're doing ourselves a disservice. So you may say, when I look at all of my income, I'm going to pad it with an extra expense. And when we start going through those expenses, I just need you to open your eyes and think about that too. How many people are preying on your paycheck once it comes in?
You know, I have an example of something. I have someone I know who I noticed that every month, for like a few months, they kept calling me, telling me, oh, I need to borrow some money because my phone bill is late. And I started saying, I'm paying your phone bill every month. Like, this is what's happening. So you're depending on me to give you the money every time it's time for you to pay your bill, and then you're paying me back later. But I'm like, yeah, we gotta stop this.
Right. Because it'll continue to
You
drain.
into the budget.
Yes, thinking about it. But you can't support that other person because you're trying to support yourself, because what? We in survival mode right now, right? And we want to be able to buy those assets, the gold, the art, the silver. And you can't do that if you're giving somebody else $20, or if you pay phone. And if you want to pay somebody's phone bill, I have some kids that you can generously donate to pay their phone bills. I wouldn't advise them taking them on either. But one of the things that you always want to keep in mind is that we've got these emotions that we deal with. Again, have that mindset from when we grew up. We didn't have a lot, right? So we always want to give and help others. But think about, if I'm going to give it to you, I need to give it to you knowing that I've already got my income and my expenses covered. You know? And I'm never going to get it back. Keep that in your mind. Now, if you, in all honesty, can afford to say, this $30 is nothing to me, this $100 is nothing to me, I know I'm never going to get it back, then by all means, do that. But also, in the back of your mind, $100 invested is what? It draws interest, right? $100 given away doesn't. So you want to find alternatives and ways to help people? Invite them here. Like, let's actually look at the situation with the phone bill. Maybe it's time for you to switch services. Have you thought about calling the phone company to see what else they can offer? So those are also some ways. Now, with a lot of us being self-employed, our income comes in by whatever we do, right? Which also means, guess what? We gotta pay taxes. And keep in mind that the IRS has increased their staff to be able to go through tax returns. Why? Because they're bleeding money too. They didn't hire all these people just because, oh, we finally got our act together. No. They're on a search. They're on a hunt. They want to go through your return. So it's important, even starting today, that we do things correctly and keep track of everything that we do. If you are not recording your receipts as you go through our business, we'll talk about ways to do that, tools that we all can share and use over the next few weeks. But with your income, if you, let's say you do a party, Nisha's family, they are caterers. So that's a huge thing for her. Let's say you do a party and you charge somebody, what's the average price? Big party, $5,000? No.
Depending on how big the party is. I say maybe like $2,000 to $3,000.
Okay, $3,000 party. That's money that's coming in. We see this as, okay, I got $3,000, things gonna come good. Uncle Sam sees this as, if he got $3,000, $1,500 of it I want for myself, right? We don't know what's gonna happen when you file your taxes. We don't know what your expenses will be. We don't even know if you can get that back. But I do want you to caution you to take whatever you get, at least half of it, and put it into a separate savings account for those times. Now, when you file your taxes, you might end up giving a refund back. Then guess what this becomes? It's actual money that you can hold on to. So we're gonna be building towards this where we can take everything that we make and put half of it away, because I know right now it's a little bit hard. But even if you start with just taking something out of that, it could be $250. It could be $25 and putting that to the side for when this time hits, when they do come out. When you have those expenses that you don't even think about. And it's okay to have more than one account. A huge thing that people are talking about as well, with not everybody being banked, is that I don't need a bank account. I got Cash App. I don't need a bank account. I use PayPal, right? But bank accounts are the only ones that are insured. We talked about bank accounts being insured for up to what? $250,000 for whatever you have in your deposit account. With that being said, that means the minute that you put over $251,000 into Bank of America, you're not getting that dollar back if something were to happen. But you are guaranteed to get the $250,000 back. FDIC insurance and NCUA insurance is what you want to pay attention to when you are dealing with an account, even if it's online. All of these PayPal, all of these other types of accounts, Cash App, Venmo, they could shut down at any given notice. And the truth is, those deposits, that money in there is not insured. Even when you're thinking about Bitcoin, all of that can go away in 2 seconds if someone says the wrong thing. Can also happen with the banks as well, but the difference is you at least stand a chance of getting some of that money back. Which, if you're sitting with money in PayPal, Cash App, and all of those, and it's just on hold for you, it's best to connect it to a bank and transfer it into the bank so that if something does happen, you're insured. Now, as you continue to gather your wealth, again, once you get to that limit, then you open up a new account. It's okay to have 6 different bank accounts as long as you can control it and you're disciplined enough to do that. I do recommend that because each bank does something different as well, just like each credit card. So always keep that in mind. Always protect yourself and never, or try to never, mix your personal income and your business. If you are your own employee, there's a way for you to pay yourself. Okay? Everyone good? Following along? Okay. So now, did everybody finish going through their income?
Yes. We did.
Okay, so now that you know what you're bringing in, before we even start looking at what our expenses are, I want you to take what you have as your income, okay? And think about, how much house should I have? How much can I actually afford? There's a little blurb in here on page 5 that talks about your income and how it should be broken up into categories. Now, the budget that I have is a little bit more extensive. I can send that to you if you would like, just let me know. But basically, when you're thinking about your housing expenses, and this is a huge one, technically, your housing expense should be no more than about 30 to 35% of whatever your income is. your auto should really be no more than 20 to 25%. Okay? Your debt, we want it to be 0, but we'll say up to 20% can go towards that. Family, events, all of that figured in should be no more than 20%. And then with the other, always remember to pay yourself 10% at least. Now, when you go to get a house, the one thing that you notice that the loan officer will tell you that we need to watch what your debt to income ratio is. And your DTI needs to be no more than 45%, but around 43% with all of your expenses, right? But the national average tells us that housing should be somewhere between 30 and 35%. So we already know that when we get in the house, we're already at a deficit because we're having to shell out more. And there are cases where people will go to a debt to income ratio in the 50s. And for them, they feel like that's what they need. But we also need to keep in mind that when you talk about housing, we're not just talking about the mortgage payment. We're talking about the property taxes. We're talking about utilities. We're talking about any insurance. So it's not just the mortgage payment or the rent payment. The reason why I wanted you to focus on your income first before we started going over all of the expenses that you have is so that you can take that number of what your income is or your projected income and plug this in. Now, let's say you really don't have any income. Then as we go through our expenses and we plug into those categories, we can see how much we need to actually generate. So we're going to work it backwards. Next, you want to look at your auto, which is not just the car payment. Guess what? We got gas, we got repairs, we've got the registration. For some people, we got tickets. All of that fits into that 20% category. Insurance, yes. Then when we think about our debt payments, everybody thinks about debt, they think about credit cards. But it's so much more than that. Because guess what? We got medical bills and expenses. Tuition. Keep going. For schooling and daycare. Those are expenses. We got the credit cards and collections. Then we also want to have a life. This is a category that gets blown out of proportion more than anything because we do it without thinking. We're not thinking about our budget when we're out there at the movies or someplace fun like Main Event or, where we're spending our money constantly. We're with our kids dining out, even dining out. Which makes us what? Now we use our money here, we forget to pay ourselves. When that should be the first thing we do as well. It should come off of your budget. And if you say, I can't save for me, one of the things that you can do, if you have direct deposit, or if you have Zelle, or your clients are paying you that way, take that money immediately, take $5 out of that, send it to yourself. Zelle it in another account. Direct deposit from your job, have them put it in a separate account that you're not even looking at. And that will help you start to build an emergency fund. So as we go through the income, this is what we need to do, focus on. So that's your, still keep going on with your budget. Go ahead.
So when you say ourselves, that's specifically like for our emergency fund and savings, or
What are your goals? Emergency fund, savings, it could be for your goal. It's whatever you need it to be for in your life. But again, we're not trying to spend it. Because you might say, I need it to be for that new pair of shoes that Macy's has, and I know they don't have a sale. Which, that's a little bit extra. Again, we're trying to make sure that we don't overspend. What are some ways, even like with having a good time, we can cook more than with the dining out. And cooking is actually pretty fun. So I do have a couple of homework assignments for you as well. Since someone wants to laugh, we're gonna make this. Okay. We're gonna look at different ways that you can save, okay? Before we tackle our budget, I need you to get that in your head. So what are some ways to save? Also think about those expenses that have increased as you go through your budget. The challenge for you will be to create a meal, okay? We talked about this, for $10 that feeds 4 people.
Ooh, ramen noodles.
A little bit more creative than ramen noodles.
Smoked sausages.
can you use stuff that you already have?
Yes, you can use things that you already have. Be creative. Bring in the receipts. I would like to see pictures. If you want to post them online and like tag me in them, that'd be cool too. If you need someone to taste it, I'm available. But also just keep in mind, this is important because we don't know what the economy is going to do. The Fed is expected to meet June 15th and 16th. At that time, they're expected to pause and not increase interest rates. And everyone's like, oh, the Fed didn't raise interest rates. Just because they didn't do it now doesn't mean that they're not going to do it when they meet in July 26th or 28th or something like that. They're going to be meeting again. And guess what? If they didn't raise interest rates, it was expected to raise. If they didn't raise it in June, what do you think they're going to do in July?
I was just about to say that.
Take it out on what they didn't do then. So you need to be prepared. That is all I have for you today because we're going to be kicked out soon. But I really appreciate you joining me. And if you are committed to this, I am asking a donation for us to just be able to get supplies and to continue this. A donation of 2 classes for $25, and then we'll go to the advanced level as well, which is taking this stuff a little bit deeper and being able to invest it. Invest it in not just stocks, not just real estate, but look at what we're talking about, the gold, the silver, the art, things that will appreciate, other commodities, and learning how to do it. So those are some things that we're going to be saving towards.
Can I send it to your Zelle?
You can sell it, cash out.
Okay.
PayPal.
What's the best number for Zelle?
My phone number, either cash out or
Okay.
And then next week, if you are committed, we are going to sign our contracts. We had some people that were here last time and we're not able to make it today. I'm going to send this to them.
Mhm.
And then if we're committed to moving forward, taking it to the next level.
Yes, girl, I'm locked in.